And how you doing, everybody? Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O, coming up on the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 10th, 2021. Everybody in the NBA seems to be happy, unless you're the Denver Nuggets or the Milwaukee Bucks right now. They are not playing well. We'll get to all that. The NHL playoffs are almost set for the Final Four. Game 6 for Las Vegas and Colorado, and I thought Colorado was going to sweep that series. Sure enough, here it is for Vegas coming up. Casey's probably happy. Casey Freelove on assignment today. And don't forget Major League Baseball. We're in the swing of it now, 2 months in. A lot of good races already developing. It's too early to talk wild card. Dodgers delayed in Pittsburgh in the 8th inning. Nice to have 2 rain delays on getaway day and then have to fly back to the West Coast for a night game tomorrow night against the Texas Rangers. But if I was the Dodgers, that second rain delay, I'm putting Kershaw on the flight back home early to get back to LA. So instead of being home in the early evening, they're going to get back late at night. But they'll have the Texas Rangers tomorrow. So how you doing, Charlie?
Vasu, I am doing great, and I would almost bet you money that Kershaw was gone yesterday. That's been a tendency that the teams have been doing for quite some time. I mean, it was obvious he wouldn't pitch today anyway. So I would bet you he was gone yesterday.
I like how you said he bet me, because this is the Make the Money and Run podcast, and you can see us live on Facebook and on YouTube Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific right now. In fact, if you miss any of the worldwide, very popular pick segment at the end of the show, why are you missing it, first of all? Secondly, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, iHeart. I think that's all of them. Anywhere you see that logo up there in the corner that says Make the Money and Run.
Fans with strings. That's available.
That's it. That way you don't have to look at us if you're repulsed by us. But shout out to everybody on Facebook and YouTube. Hello to Dee Dee and her friends in Idaho. Just wanted to give you a shout out. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Nothing but sports here on this podcast. Outside of that, not a lot going on, Charlie. Let's start out with the NFL real quick. We didn't get your take on Monday. Casey and I talked about it. The Tennessee Titans have taken have traded for Julio Jones from the Atlanta Falcons for a lot of draft picks, some cash, some oil. Do they sell oil in Tennessee? Whiskey.
Oh, they do.
Okay. Tennessee oil, whiskey, John Calipari for a speaking engagement. Oh, no, that's Kentucky. Never mind.
Yeah, that's
Pat Summitt, the ghost of Pat Summitt, anything that Tennessee wanted for Julio Jones, they're going to give it up. Okay, I kid a little bit, but Julio Jones is Tennessee Titans. So I had heard, Charlie, and I'm going to throw these two things out at you real quick, is that the Falcons did not want him in the NFC. First of all, why do you care if he's in the NFC? You're not good enough to worry about competing against wherever he's going to go. So just get yourself better, Atlanta. And secondly, they were not going to re-sign him anyway, because Julio Jones went on TV and said that he was not going to, whether he knew he was on TV or not, said he was not going back to the Atlanta Falcons. So, one, how does this help Atlanta with all those draft picks? I think there's 3 or 4 draft picks. And then, obviously, with Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill had a resurgence. They've got A.J. Brown. Their number 1 receiver will be the number 2 receiver. They've got other receivers. They go 3 receiver set, a tight end, and, of course, the battering ram, Derrick Henry, in the backfield. Their defense needs to be improved in order for them to compete based on the last couple of years. So what's your take on Julio Jones going to the Tennessee Titans, Charlie O?
Well, first of all, if you're a Tennessee Titans fan and you think this puts you into the Super Bowl.
Maybe they traded some of that too.
Yeah. I mean, I love Julio Jones. Okay. But he's 32 years old. The best days of Julio Jones are behind him. And I know the Titans, Derrick Henry, everything else, but this is not going to propel you into the Super Bowl. I think they paid way too much to get him. I hope I'm wrong. I really like Julio Jones. I really had hoped, frankly, that he would go to a better team than the Titans, frankly. Because
I got to stop you there. The Tennessee Titans got to the second round of the playoffs last year.
I don't care.
2 years. You don't think they're good enough? Okay. No, you think there's teams better than them?
They're not going to the Super Bowl this year. Okay, flat out. Take it to the bank. When you go to do your futures, do not put them in the Super Bowl. Okay, just right there. I'm telling you right now. So I had hoped that he would be with a little better team. just because he's the kind of guy that I would like to see get a ring before he retires. And I don't think this is I don't see this team getting into a Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 seasons. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll go deep into the playoffs. I don't see them getting the trophy in the next 2 to 3 seasons. So I think they paid a lot to not get what they want back. As far as the Falcons, hey, I think they did good. They had a player that was disgruntled, that you knew that you weren't going to re-sign. If you did re-sign him, it was going to cost you a lot of bucks. You already have a quarterback that is costing you a ton of bucks that, is over the hill. Let's face the facts. Maybe has one good season left in him. Maybe, you hope so. But you need to be bringing in new blood. So you're going to have a chance to add to that. I mean, draft picks are always good because you can find new talent and it's cheap. So it doesn't beat up your salary cap. So I think they did good. I mean, you took a player with skill, but wasn't the player that was going to put you over the top. You offloaded that salary and you're going to be able to get young players back. So who's the winner in that trade? Atlanta, hands down.
Maybe, because we'll see what their draft picks are. They haven't exactly made the best draft choices in the NFL over the last 5-6 years anyway to begin with. So we'll see how that goes. But Julio Jones, a known commodity. He and A.J. Brown, a lot of pressure taken off of Julio Jones from that regard because A.J. Brown is a top flight receiver. And, of course, Derrick Henry will get his 300 to 400 yards carrying, and Tannehill will run the ball every once in a while. And he's resurged his career a little bit the last couple of years. All right, enough NFL.
Yeah, let me say, don't get me wrong. Julio Jones is going to help the Titans, okay? They didn't get a bad deal there, okay? They're getting a terrific player. But if you think that he's going to put you in the Super Bowl, he is not.
Okay. You should have led with that. All right, college football, a little news, breaking news on college football by Charlie O today, as he told me, the college football playoffs is going to expand from 4 teams to 12 teams, not 8, not 10, but 12. And according to his source, 4 teams, the top 4 teams will get a bye, and this is going to extend the college football playoff for 3 weeks. And who does that make happy? People in Vegas, people like us, people like the fans out there that want to see football going into February, and these kids are going to go to class. So we'll see how that works out as well, too. That's not sarcasm on my part. They go to class. They have to be eligible. I get it. At least they're in school for 3 years, unlike the one and dones in basketball. So that's another day, another topic. But Charlie, 12 teams now. This is your story. Brought it in. How's that going to help college football?
Well, I don't want to make it sound like I had an inside source. Okay, this is all over every network in the world. So I'm just re-reporting what I know. But here's the deal. It has been proposed. They have a meeting next week with the big conferences. Everyone says this is a rubber stamp move forward. They're going to have 12 teams. The top 4 teams would receive a bye. The proposal would include that at least the first round games would be played on campus, which, wow, that would be awesome. And so that would be really cool. So that makes it already a little more NFL style. There's even a possibility that the second round games could be on campus. And then as we got into the top 4 and all that kind of stuff, then it would become more traditional like it has been. So that is the proposal. Now, the target is that it would not start until 2023, which is logical. That's what it took them when they moved from 2 teams to 4 teams. It took them 2 years to make that move. Now, there's a couple of things, and we're not going to get into all the minutia. ESPN has exclusive television rights on it and everything else. And they're saying, well, how long would they do? Don't worry about that. ESPN's going to be all over this. They want this so bad. They are already opening up the wallets. They're getting the checks out. They're telling Mickey Mouse, sell more tickets to Disneyland. We want this. We want this deal. So it's going to go. There's a couple of interesting parts about it. If they would have had this last year, the way the thing's structured, and as all these things go, I can't give you all the details because I haven't had a chance to get into it. I do know if they'd have had this structure last year, Oregon would not have gotten into the playoffs. Cincinnati would have gotten in. Coastal Carolina would have gotten in. Oregon would have not gotten in. So that's very interesting. So winning your conference, but if somebody else is a higher seed and, put your left foot in, put your right foot in, turn yourself around, it's got some of those kind of elements. But the other part of it that I found very interesting is that if you're an independent, asterisk, see Notre Dame, asterisk, see BYU, you can't get a bye. Because in order to get a bye, you have to
win your conference.
So I kind of like that, to be honest with you, because I've been a believer for a while that as an independent, Notre Dame has had way too much power in the college football ranks. So now, okay, you want to be independent? That's fine, but you're going to have to work yourself all the way through the situation now. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of play that has as well. But Vasu, your opening statement was absolutely correct. For the gambling houses, for the networks, for shows like Make the Money and Run, to quote our good friend Joe Starkey, what a bonanza!
What a bonanza! It's going to be there's going to be a lot more people. Vegas and New Jersey and the offshores will have a bountiful of games to go with the basketball games, the college games at that time. In January, we'll get started with conference play. So it'll be good come January, February, and especially if this thing rolls into February, traditionally a dead month after the Super Bowl. They're looking for ways to increase revenue in February before March Madness takes place. It's a perfect opportunity for them to try and move these things into later into January. As it is, the Super Bowl is moving back to the 13th anyway. Eventually it's going to be Super Bowl Sunday on a weekend where it's going to be Columbus Day or Martin Luther King Day weekend, and then everybody's going to have Monday off automatically, and then you don't have to worry about going to work on Monday for Super Bowl Sunday. And I think that's probably what should have been done a long time ago to begin with.
I think, in all seriousness, I think it's headed to President's Day.
It should be.
I think it's where it's headed.
Well, President's Day is in February. It's not. Oh, it is February. Okay, never mind. Martin Luther King's Day. I get it. All right. I had my months backwards here. I said Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day for January, and then
I understand.
And then President's Day will be in February for the Super Bowl. So who's ever in contention will have to wait 2 more weeks to get their Super Bowl trophy. All right. College football, the NFL, a little news there. We always have NFL news, anything college football. Before we go to break, let's hit the hockey a little bit because they're winding down to the Final Four. The Las Vegas Knights favored 135 tonight, Colorado 5.5. Why is this significant? Because Colorado looked like world beaters in the first 2 games, and they were up 2-1 in Game 3 in the third period. Knights got the tying goal and ended up winning in overtime in Game 3. Back in Las Vegas. And so what happened there? Momentum changed, Charlie. Uncle Mo. Charlie changed. And then all of a sudden, a 5-1 victory by the Golden Knights on Sunday. And then Game 6 upset victory in Colorado in overtime. Mark Stone had the game winner in overtime on Tuesday. And they are now up 3-2. All the other series are complete. But here is Las Vegas not having a chance against Colorado, not even starting Marc-Andre Fleury in Game 1. And here they are with a chance to close it out in Las Vegas in front of those rabid fans tonight with a chance. If they lose, they still have 1 to go in Colorado. Probably Sunday, I think, is when they'll play, or Saturday night. But you got to think that Las Vegas is feeling pretty good about themselves after really almost being down 0-3 come Friday with about 5 minutes to go in the third period.
Yeah, it's been an amazing comeback by the Knights. I mean, the last thing the Avalanche should have allowed this thing to do was to get back to Vegas. I mean, but first of all, Vegas plays very tough at home, and they've got a crowd now. You've got all those things going against you, and as you said, Big Mo has swung over to the Knights. And I know that people say, well, you shouldn't bet Big Mo. Well, people who say you shouldn't bet Big Mo don't bet.
Don't win games. Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, you can't put your entire pot of wagering on that, but you have to view that. And right now it's going Vegas's way. And Vasu, I was just looking for it and I can't find it posted right now. I'll see if I can find it when we go to break, but there is a COVID issue that's coming up in relationship to the Avalanche. One of their players, has had a test that came out positive, and they were going to retest him.
Okay.
And it was going to be an issue, and it was happening just before we went on the air. So I don't have the details on it, but there was concern about that, which could flip all the lines on that. So anybody who's considering wagering on that game, you may want to hold back until we get the details on that, because all the lines could go crazy on that based on what I'm hearing.
Game goes at 9 Eastern tonight in Las Vegas, 6 o'clock on the West Coast. I think NBC Sports has the game tonight, so it'll be all set up. The other series are all complete. How about those that thought the Bruins had an easy walk into the series? The Islanders said, "Uh-oh," and here they are, the New York Islanders, one of the other three teams. The Montreal Canadiens, off their 3-1 deficit to Toronto, win 3 straight against the Maple Leafs, knock off the number 1 seed Toronto, and they're in. And not only do they do that, they sweep Winnipeg in 4 straight. Carey Price looking like Carey Price of 5 to 10 years ago. Take the under with Carey Price, Vasu Vaddiparty says on Make the Money and Run, because he's very good at that. And right now they're playing as well as anybody. And then the last one, the Tampa Bay Lightning got out in 5 against Carolina. So 3 of the 4 are waiting. Las Vegas could be the 4th one tonight. And then from our friend Kevin Kurtz from The Athletic, who covers hockey, he says what they'll do is they'll put the 4 in, and the top points will pay the 4th place points, and the 2nd and 3rd will play. That's not going by conferences at all. Tampa Bay and the Islanders will be 2 and 3. And then Montreal will be 4. And then the winner between Las Vegas and Colorado will be the 1 seed in that final 4 coming up either tonight after Las Vegas wins, or on Saturday or Sunday after they play Game 7, depending on what the Avalanche do. I kind of like the Avalanche tonight, but I think Las Vegas probably would be the play tonight. We'll get to that in our world-famous picks as we get to later on in the show. All right, we're going to take 30 seconds.
The thing that I found interesting, too, about that win with the Islanders is that, and folks, I haven't really followed the NHL much this season at all, but I did do some listening yesterday around the country. And one of the shows that I pick up is a show that is with my company that I work for, Odyssey. And we have a show that's out of Boston called You Better Your Bet. And the guys were, and they're avid hockey. I mean, they live and die hockey, and obviously out of Boston. And they said no matter who won that series last night, they believe that Montreal is dead on a rival in that series. And they were serious. They said Islanders, even if the Islanders won, and they were obviously Boston fans, they said Montreal's dead on a rival in that series. So consider that when you start your wagering.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Montreal, 59 points at the end of the regular season.
I have last on the list. That story with the COVID. It's a coach. It's Bednar that tested positive, and they're going to retest him. It's called not a positive test. It's called an irregularity. Whatever that means.
I don't know. We've had all the terminology for COVID as it goes, so we'll see how it goes. All right, a lot of NBA to talk about. How you feeling, Denver Nuggets? How you feeling, Milwaukee Bucks? Good series all around. Utah finally awoke as they took over Game 1. And the other one, Phoenix-Denver, Utah Clippers, the Philadelphia-Atlanta is the one I'm getting to. Philadelphia showed up on defense on that. We'll have a lot of the NBA. We'll talk Major League Baseball. Let me give you some baseball scores while we have it. The Dodgers are delayed with the Pirates 6-3 in the 8th. Braves have a 3-2 lead in extra innings on Philadelphia. Philadelphia's still batting in the bottom of the 10th. The Tigers have defeated the Mariners 8-3. A lot of great defense in that Detroit-Seattle game last night. If you get a chance to see the YouTube highlights, fire away on that. Then the Milwaukee Brewers get another win, 7-2 over the Reds. I think they swept Cincinnati. They're now even going into the weekend with the Cubs. The Cardinals are 3 games back. Big series in the Central Division between the Cubs and the Cardinals this weekend. And then Milwaukee has, I believe they have, I had this here with me. They have the Pittsburgh Pirates this weekend as well, too. So a lot of shifting could happen. But the Cubs-Cardinals series, one of the 3 games on Fox on Saturday. We'll promote that a little bit as well later. All right, we'll take a break. We'll talk NBA. We'll talk Major League Baseball. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O, Casey Freelove on assignment. We will see you in 30 seconds. Welcome back, Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O here, Casey Freelove on assignment. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 10th, 2021. All right, we broke down the NFL a little bit, the Julio Jones trade, the new news coming out of college football that they're going to expand the playoffs. And, of course, we don't want to talk a lot about hockey, but it is getting down to the Final Four. And so Las Vegas, Colorado, the last series around in order to finish out that Final Four. Tampa Bay, the Islanders, and the Montreal Canadiens are the first three teams to get into the playoffs. All right, let's go to the NBA. How you feeling, Milwaukee? How you feeling, Denver? A little rough right now in those states as we get to it. There are the lines for tonight's games and tomorrow night's games. The Milwaukee Bucks are a 3.5-point favorite, 234. They still haven't gone into the 220s yet. Somebody's going to score at some point in this series, and the odds makers think it's still going to be 230. Utah, 3-point favorite over the Clippers, 223. They push on Tuesday night. It was a lucky push if you had the Clippers, as I did, although it kind of feel unlucky because they did have a 12-point lead in that game, but Utah ferociously came back. Philadelphia, 1.5-point favorite at Atlanta. A little surprising, but Philadelphia's defense showed up in game two, though. Atlanta can shoot, and they got hot in the second quarter. Made it a 2-point game, but then Philadelphia took over in the third. How about Seth Curry? Shake Milton had a big game on Tuesday night. Joel Embiid did Joel Embiid things. And then Denver is favored 1.5 tonight, 223. I should have said at Phoenix there, but Denver 1.5, 223 with Phoenix. They are down 0-2 in that series. And for those of you that didn't think Chris Paul deserved MVP consideration during the regular season, how you liking that pick now, Charlie?
Wow. You know, Chris Paul. I mean, let's just talk about one stat. 3 games, 15 assists, no turnovers. 15 assists in each game, no turnovers. First time it's ever been done in the history of the NBA playoffs. Before that, it had been done twice where you had 15 assists and 0 turnovers. You know who did that? Oh, yeah, that would be Chris Paul. You know, I mean, this guy.
What are you saying, Charlie?
The guy's great. I love the guy. And you know, I mean, I know you can make a great case for Jokic. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not upset that he got the MVP.
I still wanted Embiid.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of competition for that, but man, Chris Paul, wow, this guy he's balling, man. I mean, we use that term so easily when we come to the NBA players. But, man, this dude is seriously balling. And I am so impressed with what he's doing with this team. He is motivated. He is he's playing like he's 5 years younger than he is. I mean, he really is. It's phenomenal.
No doubt about it. And Phoenix looking to go up 3-0. They'll play tomorrow night. Philadelphia, Atlanta will play Friday night. We'll break those 2 games down when Casey joins us tomorrow. But let's get to Milwaukee, Brooklyn. Is Milwaukee favored by 3.5, or am I reading that wrong, Charlie? Because the way Brooklyn is playing right now, it looks like anybody that puts it up to the basket, it's going in. From Joe Harris to Mike James, obviously Durant and Kyrie Irving are there too. But it seemed like everything that they were putting up in game 1, especially in game 2 when they scored 40+ points in the opening quarter. It looks like Milwaukee is kind of lost, and this is a top 5 defensive team, and yet Brooklyn is making them look like they've never played basketball before. And what the heck is Giannis shooting from the outside for? He should be dominating on the inside. I don't get it. I understand every once in a while you got to take a shot. But he can go by any of those defenders because Brooklyn does not play defense, and they're not attacking them on the inside where they should be attacking them. And I just don't get it. And I know Brook Lopez is a 3-point shooter, but they've got a pretty good defense. Drew Holiday is an all-world defender. Of course, Giannis, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. And then Chris Middleton is not shooting the ball well at all either. He was 9 of 26 in the first 2 games. So that's not looking good for Milwaukee right now. And I know they're at home and they play well at home in the Fiserv Forum, but I'm kind of thinking Brooklyn and I plus 3.5 if they keep shooting that way. Charlie?
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. It was the guys on TNT that I was watching, and they said, you know, that what Giannis has done is he's reverted. In the first series, he decided that he was going to go down low and play, and just only float out every once in a while to kind of open things up in the lane, but then get back down low and play rough and tough and do high percentage shots. And all of a sudden now in this series, he has reverted back to what he was doing during the regular season that hurt them a lot during those games. And he's kind of playing that stretchy game, like he's got something to prove against the Nets by being that kind of stretchy shoot three-pointer thing. And frankly, it's just not working. I mean, they're getting killed. So if he doesn't switch back up and start getting down low again, I'm always hesitant to use the sweep term because these are pros and sweeps in NBA series are a little fluky, frankly. But man, it's not looking good. It is not looking good at all. And, I know a lot of people thought when Harden went down, well, okay, now we got a real series. Well, geez, I know they would love to have James in there right now, stirring the pot, but okay, James, just rest. Right now, the guys are carrying the water for you.
Yeah, the only thing they're missing right now of the big three is that Harden's the best distributor of all three because Kyrie dribbles into a shot. Very little passing from Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, catch and shoot, and he can drive on them. But everything he puts up, boy, he is making shots that are unbelievable shots right now. It's like he's never been injured and never missed time, and they just don't know how to stop him. And this is not even with DeAndre Jordan out on the floor with them either. And to neutralize Lopez a little bit from the outside, Brook Lopez has had a pretty good 2 games, but nobody else on that team has. And I'm thinking of all the shooters on that team, Joe Harris and guys like that are shooting the ball. I can't remember the whole roster because everybody talks about the big three, but right now the whole roster is contributing. They shot 72% in the first quarter the other night against Milwaukee, and that's not a Milwaukee defense. And you said it perfectly, Charlie. Giannis reverting back to 2019 when they played Toronto in the semifinals, and they were double teaming him as he was bringing the ball up the court. At least he's not bringing the ball up the court because then that would take like 10 seconds out of the shot clock, and then you have limited offense from that point forward. So it'll be interesting to see how Milwaukee responds. I don't know if they can respond. I think it's going to be a good game tonight. They're at home, so they'll have a little momentum. All right, let's move on to the other game tonight. Utah Jazz. I don't think a lot of people still respect the Utah Jazz. I took the Clippers the other night +3. It looked like Utah was going to go down. They came back, ferocious comeback. Paul George hit a 3 at the 37-second mark. They were able to play defense, and they couldn't get another shot off. But they ended up pushing a +3, did the Clippers. Game stayed under the total. Same line tonight, -3, 223, Charlie, for Utah and the Clippers. I haven't seen the injury report about Mike Conley yet or not, but Donovan Mitchell was great. Paul George actually played pretty well. Kawhi Leonard kind of showed up again in the playoffs the other day. So they did have a lead. How do they hold on to the lead this time in Utah, Charlie?
Why do I have a feeling this is going to be one of those series where it's going to go split there, split there, and then we're gonna ping pong back and forth. I don't know. It's just one of the. It's going to be one of those. I think they're going to punch it out at center court, and it's going to come down. I see this one's got all the potential to me to be a 7-game series. It really does, and I think everybody continues to underestimate Utah because they don't know them. We've talked about that all season. People don't see them, so they don't know them, and so they don't know what to do with them when they see them. I think Clippers are much improved because all of a sudden, wow, Kawhi's shown up. I don't know where he's been, but thanks, Kawhi. It's entertaining to see you show up. And we're as basketball fans, we're happy to have you back. I think it's going to be an interesting game. And, there's a couple of things at play there. One is that Utah plays well at home. That is a very, very team-friendly arena. That's one of those arenas where it is raucous. They're the only game in town. Those people love that team, so that they get pumped up by that crowd. The other thing that people forget about all the time when you go to Salt Lake is altitude. You know, we always talk about altitude in Denver. Salt Lake is the altitude is almost the same. So altitude is an advantage, especially in the first game there. Now, I don't know so much in the second game because you've had a little more time to get used to it. But altitude is an issue. So they're going to have to rotate guys in and out a little more, and they may not be able to play as many minutes because guys are going to get a little gassed in that first game.
Donovan Mitchell had a really good game one. Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year award. Pretty much deserved. I thought there were a couple other guys that were in the mix there, but Gobert wins again for the third time. He really shut down the rim in the second half against the Clippers and their driving ability. Patrick Beverley showed up. He played a good game as well, too. I think Game 7, really, when Kawhi caught fire in Game 7 against Dallas, it kind of opened up his game again to the point where people are starting to feel confident about him. I'll be interested to see what happens if the Clippers lose this series, don't even get to the conference finals, what the roster turnover will be, what Tyronn Lue's job is going to be like, but we're a long way away from that. Those are the games tonight. All right, before we do our official picks at the end, who do you think wins tonight, Charlie?
I like the Jazz.
Okay, and then what about the Milwaukee-Brooklyn game?
Brooklyn.
Okay. All right, I'm kind of with you on that. I kind of like the Jazz, but we'll get to the official picks at the end. All right, NBA in the books right now. Casey will be with us tomorrow. We'll break down these two games, the results of these games, and then Philadelphia, Atlanta tomorrow, and then Denver and Phoenix tomorrow night in what could be a really good Game 3 for Philadelphia, Atlanta. And, boy, the Nuggets better show up at home because they've already lost home games in the playoffs, and Phoenix is on a roll right now, and they're playing great defense. In fact, that 223, I might jump on that on the under right now just in advance of tomorrow because I got to think that Phoenix's defense is going to play the way they played the first two games. And they came back in Game 1 against Denver. They were down big to Denver, and they came back and not only won but covered, and then they blew them out. It was not even a contest last night. It was 123-95 or something like that was the final score. And
Malone was upset.
Yeah, I bet. And he's been known to do that as well too. All right, so we're going to take a break here, 30 seconds. A lot of baseball to get to. Let me give you the updates. We'll give you the updates. We'll give you the updates when we come back. So let's take 30. All the baseball stuff coming. A lot of good weekend games. Charlie O here, Vasu Vaddiparty here. Casey Freelove on assignment. He'll be back with us tomorrow for a full house, same time, 4:15. Thank you to Vinny G on Facebook. Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget our picks at the end of the show. And if you forget, you can download and subscribe anytime. Get it to your friends. Subscribe, rate, get the stars out there. And we appreciate all the support we get for Make the Money and Run and for Stables Media, powered by Stables Media. Back in 30 with all the Major League Baseball news and notes. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here, Casey Freelove on assignment. He'll be back tomorrow. You can catch us Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific, right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. If you see us now, then you're seeing us live. And if you missed any of the broadcast, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeart, Google.
I am live.
You are live. Yeah, you are alive and live. So anywhere you get it, download, subscribe, rate, and review. We appreciate all the response we get. Thank you to Vinny G and to David Andrews and Deirdre again, liking it. We appreciate it. David Andrews, thank you for the nice notes the other day to Casey. I know Casey appreciate it. Vinny G and the Skinny Mulligans. Always love saying that name out loud. Nice job, Vinny, on that as well, too. All right, we hit the other sports. Let's hit the Major League Baseball scene right now. A lot of good games going on. In fact, I'll give you the updates right now. The Dodgers have won. All the games are final now. They called it after 8, so you can get on an airplane and come back home. Dodgers 6-3 in 8 innings over Pittsburgh. The Reds lose to Milwaukee 7-2. Milwaukee and Chicago tied for first going into the weekend. How about the Phillies? Atlanta gets 2 in the top of the 10th. The Phillies come back with 3 in the bottom of the 10th, and they win 4-3 in 10 innings. The Tigers 8-3 over Seattle. Detroit now 26-36, so nowhere near. Tough loss for the Mariners. They're fighting it out with the Astros and the A's in the division. All right, let's start there, Charlie, as we hit the American League lines. The American League West right now, as we get to the MLB notes here, we'll hit the lines. We'll hit the lines in a second. Astros bats waking up in Boston. What a show they put on yesterday. The A's continue to lead the West. They're tied in the loss column, but they are a game up by virtue of 2 more wins over Houston. Giants still lead the NL despite the loss yesterday in Texas, a tough loss. Cardinals slump, gets a reprieve. They had a couple of wins this week, and the Brewers and Cubs stay hot. They're going to be tied going into the weekend in the NL Central. St. Louis 3 games back. And if you're a Giants fan and a Dodgers fan, Padres still slumping offensively. They're going to go to New York. And who do you get in New York on Friday? You get Jacob deGrom, 0.62 ERA, 5-2 record. If his ERA is 0.72, Charlie, then he'd probably be 2-5 the way the Mets score runs for him.
Yeah, Vasu, it's going to be interesting to me this weekend, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very cautious on wagering on baseball for the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to tell you why. This whole issue with sticky stuff, if you've noticed in these last couple of days, all of a sudden run production's way up, and I don't think it's by accident. I really don't. Now, here's the thing, folks. If you think everything that it's in power pitching is going to go away, it's not. And I'm going to give you a great example of that. Is Garrett Cole last night pitched against Minnesota, and Josh Donaldson shot his big mouth off.
Yeah, a little outspoken, huh?
Yeah, about how, the spin rate was going to go down and everything else. Well, Garrett Cole got out there last night. And folks, let me tell you, umpires are under the gun. They're under the gun. And so let me tell you, every time they pick up a baseball now, and umpires handle the balls a lot during the course of a game, they're feeling those things.
Careful with your terminology there.
Well, I don't care. They're looking to see what's on those things.
Too many balls being handled. We don't want that. This is a kid.
Well, you know what? That get out of the sport. And so they're looking, and so the balls are cleaned up more than what they've been. I'm not saying they're completely slick, but they're not as sticky as they were. And last night, Cole was spinning that rate up to as many as 2,900 revolutions per pitch. So, and he struck out Donaldson 3 times. So everything's not going to go away. Good pitchers are still going to be good pitchers.
Yeah.
But I think runs are going to be up because some of the guys who aren't as good, great guys are still going to be great guys. Guys who've been mediocre, who've been aided by that, are going to come back to being mediocre. And that's who's going to be hurt by those aids of having that extra grip. So it's going to be interesting. So things like totals and some of those kind of things, just be a little careful and watch for a little bit, because I think baseball, there's 1 or 2 things you can do in baseball to make things a little more interesting. And what baseball's hearing is that fans aren't as excited about no hitters as they are home runs. Okay, that's what they're hearing.
That's true.
And so what they're going to do is you can do 1 of 2 things. You can liven up the baseball, which is really hard to control, or you can make pitching more even with the hitting. And the way you do that is you loosen up the grip. So, you need to watch the trends now on how the runs are going, because I think there's going to be more offense, and we're going to see those things trending up over the course of the season.
All good points by Charlie O in terms of the baseball itself. Also, the warmer weather will help these totals as well, too. All right, let's look at the lines here, as we said. By the way, the one thing I'll just add to that, from the sticky substance, having pitched before, in the lower level college type atmosphere type stuff, but still it's the same game. The fact is that if hitters are not upset with pitchers using pine tar or rosin, because those balls are really slick, those baseballs are really slick. And the fact is that they would rather have the pitcher know where it's going, because if you're facing 90 to 95 miles an hour, you want to make sure that they have the control rate. They don't want to slip. They don't want careers to be ended. They don't want to get hit with pitches. So they're all right with that. It's when it's an extreme advantage that's when the hitters get upset. And you can tell by the way the batting averages are right now. 0 for 3 with a strikeout, a walk, and another strikeout or a home run. Let's get back to playing baseball a little bit. And I think that's the whole idea of getting this thing back to being exciting as well. All right, speaking of which, let's get to the American League games today. Boston, a slight favorite over Houston. Eddie Rodriguez has had a rough year after winning 17 2 years ago. Had a good year last year. Zach Greinke on the mound for Houston. Toronto, 2 in a row at Chicago. Hyun-Jin Ryu goes against Dallas Keuchel, who's had a little bit of a struggle after a great start. That total is 9 for Dallas Keuchel. How about this one? Michael King getting his third start, in the big leagues against J. Happ. Yankees at Minnesota. Again, the total 11 there, with the Yankees being 133. They're 5.5 back in the American League East. 5 back in the loss column of Tampa Bay. By the way, how hot is Tampa Bay right now, even though they lost yesterday? Boston 1 game back in the loss column. Yankees 5 games back, and then Toronto is 4 games back in the loss column, even though there's 6 games back overall. A lot of makeup games to be played early in the year. In Toronto, going to score some runs when they get back to Buffalo. There's no doubt about that. And then the last one tonight in Oakland. It could be a cold night in Oakland. Total not as high, 146. Mike Minor for Kansas City. Frankie Montas, who I'm still not sold on. Him and Luzardo, the 2 guys in the A's rotation that I'm kind of worried about if you're an Oakland A's fan. 146 for Oakland. Mike Minor on the mound. Frankie Montas for Oakland. What do you like in the American League, Charlie, in terms of what to watch for?
Well, I'll tell you what I don't like is I don't like that Kansas City Athletics game. And just for what you said, is Frankie Montas. Frankie Montas is a sinker ball pitcher, and his sinker ball is sinking at about the belt level. So, and I mean that sincerely. I mean,
sinkers that don't sink get hit a long, long way. Take it from an ex-pitcher.
Yes. He's a fastball sinker baller, and the sinker is not sinking. He's got I think his launch angle is like 14 degrees or something. I mean, that is not a sinker baller.
No.
So that is bad. Now, as far as the over and under in that game, Vasu, I did have a chance to check the weather there. It's supposed to be 64 degrees at game time.
Okay.
So that means you've got overcast in, and so it's going to be cold. It's going to be cloudy. It's probably not a home run night at the Coliseum. So it's potentially an under or right at 8-run night there. So I don't know, but Montas, man, that's not a guy I would particularly throw money down on in that particular game right there. What else was I looking at? By the way, I just got to mention the Phillies. The Phillies, Walker last night in his first game as a Phil gets a walk-off 2-run home run. His first major league home run is. Are you
talking about Neil Walker? Neil Walker?
No. The kid that
I'll find it. Go ahead with your thought. I'll find it.
He helped the USA Olympic team qualify for the Olympics. Then they added him to the 40-man roster, so it disqualified him for the Olympics.
Oh, Luke Williams. Luke Williams.
I'm sorry. And then they called him up, and then last night he came up and hit a 2-run walk-off home run to give the team the victory. And then today they win in 10. So Philly showing a little gravitas there. I think that Giants Nationals game will be interesting to watch. Scherzer pitching a little better, but the Giants, oh my gosh. I was so wrong about the Giants. Giants fans, I'm so sorry.
I told you they were going to be better than people thought.
I was wrong. I mean, I'm just bowing. It was there. By the way, you were so right, folks. If you didn't see the highlights from yesterday, you have got to go look at the highlights from the Tigers Mariners game yesterday. It was crazy good defense.
Yeah, I should have won the game. Luke Fraley took the game away from me in the 9th inning. I should have won the game on my wager yesterday.
And then flipped around and his offense. I mean, it was classic. Make a great defensive play and then come back and make a key hit. I mean, you couldn't have any more classic what's the word that I want? Euphemism that we use in baseball broadcasting all the time than that. And it was just fantastic. Rocky Marlins, who cares? But that Astros Red Sox game, that should be a good one too. Astros, I hate the Astros, but they're playing great baseball right now. Did you see Altuve took it completely out of the yard yesterday?
Yeah.
Just cleared the monster, took it out onto the street.
Took it out onto, Yawkey Way, I think it is, behind left field. It's interesting. Looking at the American League games that I like, obviously Boston, Houston, a big one, Zach Greinke on the mound. I like that one. Toronto's won 2 in a row, I think. Yeah, is that right? They won last night. They lost the night before. But they've got the White Sox again. Dallas Keuchel struggling, but I'm looking forward to seeing that game. Toronto is 4 back in the loss column, 6 overall. 13 of the 30 teams are in the positive run differential. 4 of them are in the American League East. So not a lot of offense, as we said, in Major League Baseball. I'll be interested to see how Josh Donaldson reacts tonight to the rookie Michael King as well. And then, of course, Oakland, Kansas City wrap up the night, late night, 9:30, about the same time the basketball goes off. So it'll be a lot of channel flipping back and forth. All right, let's move to the National League games here real quick. A few games left since we had a couple of finals already, as we said. But in the National League, Charlie talked about the Giants. Giants playing good defense. They can't hit right now, and they got shut down by Kyle Gibson yesterday. And that's the thing that scares me about the Giants is they don't hit in the clutch right now. They're bombing the home runs. They're leading the National League. Actually, they're leading the baseball world in home runs on the road with 62 in 34 games, and they're averaging about 1 home run a game at home. So I don't know if the difference – there's really not a difference in terms of those panels being shut down at Oracle Park. But they're on the road at Washington for 4. This is going to be a tough matchup. This is a good chance for DeSclafani to kind of improve his stature with the Giants in terms of taking on an ace and Max Scherzer. 7.5 the total, $1.75 for Washington on the favorite line. Probably get a good $1.55 or $1.65 depending on dime lines or 20-cent lines on your book for DeSclafani. It's not a bad pick to take San Francisco, but I don't know if I'd go against Scherzer right now because the Giants just don't hit. And right now they're playing pretty good defense and their bullpen's okay. Jake McGee's pitching well. He's a strikeout guy. The problem with Tyler Rogers being the closer for the Giants right now is he's only 50% strikeout rate. You pitch to contact, and sometimes luck gets the best of you, and luck got the best of him yesterday in that day game at Texas. So we'll see how they go. A lot of rain in the D.C. area. That game might not even go off. Trevor Rogers going tonight for the Miami Marlins, almost a 2-1 favorite. Hard to see for a Miami Marlins team to go 2-1 favorite, but you're looking at a guy with a 1.93 ERA, 6-3, one of the best left-handers in the league against Chichi Gonzalez. We know about the Colorado Rockies and their struggles away from Coors Field. Those are the 2 games that are left tonight in the National League. Charlie, there's really nothing in the National League other than this Washington-San Francisco game. You already touched on it a little bit, so we'll just move on from there. But it'll be an interesting thing to see if they get that game in between Scherzer and DeSclafani. I'll be interested to see how the Giants attack Max Scherzer. They've gotten to him before. They could get to him again. Buster Posey will be back in the lineup. Brandon Crawford's in the lineup. What a shot he hit last night. Almost got it out, and they almost won in extra innings. So a lot to go there. A lot to go there in baseball. Some of the weekend stuff, and we'll touch on it. We'll touch on it with Casey tomorrow. But the Cubs-Cardinals open up a series this weekend. Giants-Nationals will continue. Colorado will go to Cincinnati. Padres-Mets will be very interesting to see how that goes. Blake Snell, Jacob deGrom tomorrow night. Seattle still in the mix in the American League West against Cleveland. Cleveland 4 games back of the White Sox in the American League Central. Tampa Bay playing the best baseball of anybody right now, 39-24. They get the Orioles in for 3, so you should be able to take 2 out of 3 if you're Tampa Bay. Blue Jays-Red Sox, always a good matchup. We talked about the American League East already. White Sox-Tigers 10 years ago would have been a great matchup. Not so much now. Braves always have a tough time in Florida. They're going to play the Marlins for the weekend. Astros Twins will be interesting. Brewers tied for first in the Central. The Angels still in the American League West race. They have Arizona. They're going to Arizona, actually. Royals Athletics. And then the Rangers Dodgers. What are you looking for on the weekend? I'm looking at Cubs Cardinals. Obviously, I'll be there covering the game. But besides Cubs Cardinals, Mets Padres, Indians. Who did I say the Indians have? The Indians have the Mariners. That'll be interesting as well, too, in Cleveland. See if Seattle's bats can keep it going coming from Detroit, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, it's summer baseball, so everything gets a little more interesting this time of year. Yeah, St. Louis and Chicago. That's rivalry.
Love day baseball, Friday afternoon day baseball in Chicago.
I mean,
you should have a day game every day for wagering purposes and for fan purposes anyway to begin with. They don't have a starter listed for the Cubs yet, but Oviedo going for the Cardinals. We'll have an update on that game tomorrow when we go on the air at 4:15. Lots to talk about as well.
They're tentatively listing Hendricks now.
Kyle Hendricks, possibly, yeah. He threw on Sunday. Against the Giants, the only win the Cubs got in San Francisco last weekend when the Giants took 3 of 4 from the Cubs as well.
I am interested to see how San Diego reacts in New York. I think your evaluation is absolutely right. They're a little critical right now. We touted them; they looked good. Blah blah.
No. I'm sorry, you touted them. I'm not sold on the Padres.
Excuse me, I touted them.
Yes,
okay?
Clear that up here.
And Casey kind of liked
them. They may not be good, but at least we're accurate.
Like them, and the Dodgers boy over here, he didn't like him at all. Okay, so there we go. We got that established right there. Toronto, Boston, I think it'll be a good weekend series. I like that one. And a
lot of overs in that weekend series between the Red Sox and Blue Jays.
And I think the Kansas City Oakland series over the weekend will be pretty good too, as well. And so that'll be pretty good. And it ought to be a good weekend for the Dodgers. I mean, this should be a nice get healthy weekend for them with the Rangers in. I mean, this is the kind of series, folks. You want to see how good a team is? I'm serious. And I'm not trying to disparage the Dodgers at this point, but this is the kind of series where you find out how good a team is, because you got a team coming in that's lousy. Okay. And if you really want to win, this is the kind of team where you come in and you destroy them. This is where you find out whether a team's got a winning attitude or not, because you got a chance to come in, and this is where you have a chance to bring out the brooms. And this is what you need to do. You need to send this team out. You need to send the Rangers out without a win. That's how you win a championship. That's how you go to the World Series.
Rangers 2-8 in their last 10. They did get the win yesterday against the Giants, minus 54 in the run differential, 15 games under 500, 13 games out in last place behind the Oakland A's. Kansas City Royals, Charlie mentioned them, 5 in a row they've lost. They were above 500 going into the week. Now they're 29-31. They're 7.5 games, 7 games in the loss column. Back of the White Sox, who lost to Toronto yesterday. So some interesting baseball. Tampa Bay has Baltimore this weekend. Baltimore 16 games back in the American League East behind Tampa Bay. Charlie's point to the Dodgers about good teams destroying bad teams. This is a weekend for the Rays to get healthy. They are second in baseball at plus 75 run differential behind the White Sox, who are plus 86. And then in the National League, the Giants are plus 74. I take that back. Third, the Dodgers are plus 89 after having their series with the Pirates this weekend as well, too. But they got that game done in 8 innings. They'll be back to LA at a reasonable time, and they'll have the Rangers waiting for them. San Diego plus 67. They've lost 2 in a row. Cubs did not exact the revenge they wanted on the Cubs after being swept last week. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Cubs at home, and now they've got to go face Jacob deGrom on Friday. Get the bats out, boys. DeGrom's waiting for you. All right, we're going to take 30 seconds more. Our world-famous pick segment coming up on the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 10th, 2021. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here. Casey will join us tomorrow for the Full House Friday edition of the Make the Money and Run podcast. We'll see you in 30 with our world-famous picks of the day. Oh, how you doing, everybody? Charlie O here, Vasu Vaddiparty, Make the Money and Run podcast, June 10th, 2021 on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. If you miss any of the segments that we had, check it out online, anywhere you get your podcast. Look for the MTMAR logo, download, subscribe, rate, and review. We appreciate all the comments we get. You can get to us on any of our social media, Facebook, Instagram. Make the Money and Run also has a social media page as well on Facebook. Thanks to Rachel, David, D, all for liking and watching. Vinny G, loving our podcast today, so we appreciate that. Skinny Mulligans 66, I think is the way it goes. So a lot of good stuff coming up, a lot of basketball to talk about this weekend. We'll preview the weekend games, and then the NHL. Hopefully we might have a winner between Vegas and Colorado by then. they'll get to the Final Four, and it'll be an interesting Final Four round robin. Canadian teams can travel to the U.S. now, so that's going to help the Toronto Blue Jays. I think I read where the Canadian teams are going to be able to travel to the U.S. now, Charlie. So I think that's a big deal now that the borders are opening up a little bit and the vaccinations are working a little bit. Canada's had a tough time the last few months after they got healthy first and had their bubble last year. But now it seems to be coming back. All right, you've waited all hour for this. So here it comes, our world-famous picks. I'm going to give Charlie O the floor with his picks for Thursday.
All right, here we go. Starting off with some baseball. I'm going to take Houston minus 105 versus Boston. Now, I got in early on this. I just looked. Some of the books have made this a pick 'em at minus 110, minus 110. So you'll have to shop around a little bit to see if you can get this. But I like Houston in this game. The pitcher tonight for Boston, whose name just went right,
Rodriguez.
has been a little iffy out there on the mound, and he going up against Greinke, and Greinke's good, and he's a right-hander, so they're going to have to stuff left-handers in the lineup, so they're not going to be able to utilize the monster. And Rodriguez is a right-hander, so they're going to be able to take the Astros are going to be able to take advantage of the monster. So I just kind of like all that matchup there that way. Then I went to the NBA. That's my only MLB because, like I told you, I'm a little iffy on the MLB right now till we figure out what's happening with. Okay, here we go. We got to go with it. The sticky balls. Okay,
sticky balls.
And then in basketball. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going Brooklyn plus 3.5 against the Bucks. I'm just not happy where the Bucks are. I'm not happy the way Giannis is playing, and I think Budenholzer needs to get his office cleaned out because he's going to be in the unemployment line when this series is over. And so be it. He's got a lot of talent, and they're not performing. And last but not least, the Clippers and the Jazz tonight. I'm going on the money line because the spread does concern me a little bit. So I'm going to sneak in the back door, and I'm going to take the Jazz minus 165.
What do you think about, before I get to my picks here, what do you think about Jason Kidd taking his name out of the Portland Trail Blazers head coaching search? They were going to talk to him. Terry Stotts got fired by Portland after last week. Dame Lillard and McCollum there, I thought that would be a good fit for Jason Kidd, but for some reason he took his name out of the hat for that job, Charlie. And actually we can't do that, but give me a one-word answer why you think he did.
Dame said, I'm out of here.
Okay, that's possibly true. All right, so, well, way to go. Way to look at the clock, Vasu. All right, let's get to my picks here. Washington, minus 175, Max Scherzer on the mound. I'm going to go over with Houston and Boston over 9. Exactly what Charlie said. The Astros bats are flying right now, and they're doing well. I'm going to go with Hyun-Jin Ryu. I usually don't go against the White Sox at home for 2 in a row, but I just like the way Toronto's swinging the bats, minus 108 against Dallas Keuchel. I like Brooklyn plus 3.5. I like the Clippers plus 3, and I like the Vegas Golden Knights. How you doing, Casey Freelove, to beat the Colorado Avalanche and go on to become the 4th team in the NHL playoffs. We'll get the Final Four as well as there. By the way, just to pile it out on Charlie, Astros have won 3 in a row. They're tied with the A's in the AL West. And then the Boston Red Sox are 1 game back in the loss column behind Tampa Bay. All right, Charlie O, Vasu Vaddiparty. Thanks to everybody on Facebook and YouTube for joining us live. You can download, subscribe, rate, and review on any of the podcasting outlets you get. Apple, Spotify seem to be the best. Casey will join us tomorrow right here at 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific for the Make the Money and Run podcast. Today, June 10th, 2021. We'll see you tomorrow at 4:15 on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Charlie O, Vasu Vaddiparty signing off. Good luck on all your games. Have a great afternoon, and we will see you tomorrow.